Welcome to Real Talk, where I give real answers to real questions from real worship leaders. If you are a real worship leader with a real question and you want a real answer, head right here and submit your question for a future episode. Got some good questions this week? Let's talk about it. How can a worship team member gracefully deal with a disorganized worship leader? From lack of communication to not knowing what songs you're playing, it has been a frustrating experience. I've tried nudging, reminding, but to no avail. Help! P.S. I know I can't change his disposition and that God has placed me to serve under him. Perhaps this is a growing experience for me as well. First of all, I just feel like I want to, because I hear this a lot, is like, maybe this is just a growing experience for me. And I think that there is some sense of that is true, and I'm not just talking about your specific situation, but I hear this anytime somebody is under a bad leader. Like, maybe this is just a growing experience for me. You know, I served under a bad leader once, and maybe it was a growing experience. But I also don't think that God was like, use this as an excuse to not do anything about it. And just sit there and learn how to grow. Learn patience in this season. There is a sense of that. We need to learn patience. We need to learn to be gentle, especially with the people who are leading us. But I also don't think that we just sit by idly and say, this is a growing season. Let me just use that as a cop-out. I just need to grow in this season. And somehow now it's almost like the blame has been placed on you for a bad leader in your church. I just want to warn people against that. Is like, what happens? Yes, we can only control ourselves. We can do things to impact other people and help them see certain things, but at the end of the day, we can only control ourselves. And so there is a sense where I need to grow in this season. How do I grow, though? My growing could be I need to sit here and endure it and learn how to be patient, or my growing could be I need to learn how to speak up and help other people lead better. So either way you cut it, like, yes, it's a growing season. Guess what? Every season is a growing season. It is literally sanctification. Every season God has put you in is a growing season. There is no season that you step into where you do not need to grow anymore. And so to say this is a growing season, I don't know. I think most of the times we use that as an excuse to serve under bad leadership and to keep us in the position that we've been in so that we don't have to do anything about it. Just being frank. So my point is, yes, this might be a growing season, but every season is a growing season because we are always becoming more Christ-like. That does not absolve you from responsibility where you just have to sit under somebody who's disorganized and never do anything about it. Now, what should you do? Now that we've established that while this may be a growing season, maybe the growing is that you need to learn how to talk to people who aren't fulfilling their responsibilities and allowing you to lead well. You are a worship team member. You have a disorganized worship leader. And you say, what have you done? You've tried nudging, reminding, but to no avail. So there's a lack of communication to knowing what songs you're playing. For me, that is like literally, I want to say like the tip of the iceberg, but let me just say the tip of the logistical iceberg for a worship team leader is to let their team know what songs they're playing in a timely manner. That's literally step number one. Why? Because that's what people are preparing for on Sunday. And I know that there's other responsibilities. I talk about them a ton of times on this channel, all the time on this channel. But your number one logistical responsibility on Sunday is to show up and be able to play the songs. When you're leading musical worship, that is your, and I'm saying it very carefully, your logistical responsibility, the very top of it. If you can't do that, then you have failed your logistical responsibilities for Sunday morning, because you are there to lead musical worship, which involves playing the songs correctly. And so if your team leader does not see that as the highest logistical priority in their week, frankly, I don't know what they're doing. That is the very least that you can do for your team, is to give them the song list. And I'm being kind of rude to this worship leader. Maybe they have other things going on. I don't know all the responsibilities. But if you can't get your team the list, and I'm saying this to every worship leader, if you can't get your team the list early in the week at the very latest, like I don't know, say Tuesday morning, and give your team Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, at least 4 days, this is the very least, to practice their songs. I don't know what you're doing. I mean, it just makes me angry. That is I will say it again, that is your number one logistical priority. You have no other priorities. I don't know what else you're doing through the week, but if you can't do that, you shouldn't be leading a worship team. All right, and I'm separating this from the spiritual responsibilities. All right, there are spiritual responsibilities that are more important than just learning how to play the songs. We all recognize that, but logistically, your team needs to know how to play the songs. So get them their songs on time. And I'm saying that to the person who asked this question to validate your frustration, because that makes me frustrated. And I don't want you to hate your worship team leader because of that, because obviously they don't see that. So my response would not be to curse the person out like I just did right now. I didn't curse them out, but you know what I mean. Don't yell at them like I just yelled at all the worship leaders who do not get their worship team members resources in a timely manner. Here's how I would approach it. I would help them see the necessity of getting not just you, but the entire team, the resources that they need on time. And the way that I would do that is I would share with them through my own lens the frustrations that I have. If this is like a really big deal and they're sending you the songs like the night before or something, you never did say when they were sending it to you. You said there's a lack of communication and not knowing what songs you're playing. To me, that says they send out, or maybe you show up on Sunday and they say, hey, we're playing these songs. If I was showing up to a worship team and I was not getting the songs that we're playing until Sunday morning, I would walk up to my worship team leader and I would say, I'm sorry, but I can't lead these songs if I don't know what they are until the morning of. For me, I need to sit down. I need to practice the songs. I would like to be able to memorize the music. I would like to be able to worship through the songs during the week so that I'm ready to lead them not just musically but spiritually throughout the week. And I can't show up on Sunday morning and you hand me the song list and I'm ready to go. I just can't do that. And I feel like the other people on our team can't really do that either. We're trying to make it work, but it's just not working. I notice all of these mistakes during worship, and I just think that we can do better. And all it takes is for us to get the song list early in the week. I'm not asking for a month in advance. I'm asking for, on Monday or Tuesday, send out a song list. That is not an unreasonable request. It's just not. It's not an unreasonable request for you to have that conversation with your worship team leader. And if they say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, I'm sorry, that's what I need to be able to feel comfortable to lead on Sunday morning. So I can't lead on Sunday mornings anymore. And I never tell people to leave their worship team. That's never the first step. So don't hear me and say, go have this conversation with your worship team leader, and if they say no, then just say, I'm done and I'm never coming back. But I just want to validate your feelings that this is not just a season of growing. Every season is a season of growing. This is a season of growing for your worship team leader. That's what it is. Your worship team leader, if they're not getting you the songs until the day of, they need their butt kicked. And they need to get you your songs so that they resource the team that they have been given. Simple as that. Like I said, the number one logistical priority. If they aren't doing that, it makes me question what else they are accomplishing in the worship ministry. Now, take that and apply it to your own context. You're going to comment and be like, well, don't you know that this is like a single mom who works 3 jobs and doesn't have time to get it until Sunday morning? Okay, lace it with as much grace that it needs to be laced with. But at the end of the day, that is the worship leader, team leader's responsibility. So if they aren't doing that, they should not be in charge of the worship team. I'm the worship leader of a small church in the south of England and the only musician. Although there is one lady who plays guitar if pushed, I rarely have a week off unless I'm on holiday or ill. But on those weeks, should I have some say over what happens? This time I was on hold for one Sunday and everything was arranged without any input from me. The pastor asked the guitar lady to step in and I wasn't consulted at all. I only found out by asking the pastor what was happening the following week. She did a great job and is a true worship leader, except that she prefers and plays a lot of older songs that I never do. They were played pre-pandemic, but not over the last 21 months since we've been back and I've been the worship leader. We have many new Christians, which is brilliant, but they would only have known 1 out of 5 songs that she did. She did do one that the congregation knew. I worry that they would not have been able to truly respond to God, as that's too many unknown songs all at once. Should I have more of a say when I'm not there, or just let it go? It's only 1 week, once or twice a year, but I do care about the needs of the congregation. I think I hear your heart in this, that you want to make sure that when you're not there, your church can still worship. What is going to allow them to fully participate in worship? It is having a repertoire of songs that they know. We can't just show up and sing 5 new songs on a Sunday and expect people who have never heard those songs to be able to participate in worship. So I think the balance in answering your question is, because you're asking, should I have input when I'm not there? And I guess the first part of it is asking the question, what is your responsibility of worship leading in your church? What is the authority that you have in your church? Because if you are like, hey, I'm the full-time worship leader in my church and I'm paid and I'm on staff and this is my area of ministry that I'm in charge of and I have oversight over, then yes, you should have input when you're not there, because you are leading not just worship on Sunday, but you are leading the worship ministry and providing oversight and vision for that specific ministry in your church. And so, for example, when I'm not around on a Sunday, there's another guy who leads in my place, and I will work with him because he needs to take ownership of the songs that he's leading, but I will work with him to craft a set list that he's going to be able to lead, which is composed of songs that come out of our worship song repertoire, songs that the church already knows. But I don't just tell him, hey, here are all the songs that you're going to sing. And not that I think that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I just like to include him in the process. So at the very least, you should be, if this is your responsibility, and I say that as the caveat, if it's your responsibility and you aren't just the person in your church who happens to play music on Sunday and lead musical worship, but you have actually been given the specific role of leading the worship ministry in your church, if that is your responsibility, then yes, you should have input, because you should be guiding the vision of what corporate worship in your church looks like. Now, on the other hand, if it's just like, hey, I get up and play a few songs in front of my church on Sunday, and I don't really have any real authority to make any worship decisions in my church, other than my pastor asked me one time, hey, would you pick out some songs for us on Sunday and lead them? Then realize that when you aren't there on Sunday, that responsibility of picking out songs is transferred to somebody else. Now, should you coordinate with that other person? 100%. That would be the wise thing to do. I'm just asking you to consider the actual authority that you have from a leadership perspective in your church. And if it is, I need to have input in every service, even when I'm not there, then that is that is what you should be doing. If you don't have that authority and your responsibility is just transferred to somebody else, then I would approach it differently, and I would walk up to this lady and say, hey, thank you so much for leading when I'm not here. That's such a big help for me. In fact, I would love to have you lead with me on a regular basis if you're able to. That would help you build a relationship with this person, and then you would be able to lead the same songs, and then it wouldn't even really be a conversation because she would know all the songs that you play on a regular basis because she'd be leading with you on a regular basis. But even if she doesn't do that, say, hey, I think that it would be a great idea for us to coordinate whenever I'm not here so that I can share with you sort of where I see things headed whenever we gather for corporate worship. That way we have more of a unified front working together towards a common purpose. So next time you're gone, this is me speaking to you now, next time you're gone, say, hey, I'd love to get together with you and just think about, okay, these are the songs that have been working well. This is what's coming up in our church. And I think if we coordinate that, then it would be a more cohesive worship experience, even when I'm not here. So those are the two extremes, I guess. I'm in charge of everything, and I need to have oversight over the worship ministry because that is my job, versus I just play and sing songs on Sunday, and that's my responsibility. So what you need to do is you need to clarify with your pastor. Sounds like you and your pastor haven't talked about what your responsibilities actually are. And that is the most important thing. Say to your pastor, hey, these are my frustrations when I'm not here, but I'm not really sure what my responsibilities here are. So you have to ask yourself the question, do you want to be in charge of the worship ministry in your church? Because that's a bigger responsibility than just picking out a few songs on Sunday. That's part of your responsibilities, but there's more to it than that. And if you want the responsibilities, then be prepared to step into it and realize that it might be more than what you're doing right now if all you're doing is picking out some songs to lead on Sunday. So clarify your position with your pastor, your responsibility with your pastor, and then react in one of those two ways that I talked about, depending on the answer that you get from your pastor. Now, no matter what responsibility or position you are in as the worship leader in your church, one of the most important things that you can do is plan your services well, and that includes planning your speaking transitions. But a lot of people don't know how to plan speaking transitions. Those are some of my most viewed videos on this channel, and that's why I put together the 5 worship speaking transitions you can use this Sunday. It's a free PDF where I give you a word-for-word speaking transition for 5 weeks in a row. You can take that speaking transition. It's based on scripture, so you don't have to worry about saying something unscriptural. It's the perfect length, like 1 minute to 1.5 minutes at the most, and most of that is scripture reading. And I don't just give you the word-for-word script, but I also give you bullet points that you can memorize so that the speaking transition comes out naturally and you aren't just reading it off a piece of paper. So if you're interested in leveling up your speaking transitions, check out that free resource down in the description below, 5 worship speaking transitions you can use this Sunday. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Until I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.